Hey you guys, welcome back to Discover You Podcast, episode 8. Today we're going to be talking all about choosing love over fear, why we're experiencing so much fear within our lives, within our bodies, within the current times that are happening right now. So I really wanted to just hop on and talk about the fact that we are in this perpetual fear cycle. We are feeling traumatized, we are feeling scared in any direction that is possible right now. So we're in this really interesting time where we're trying to move away from this fear, but the cycle keeps continuing. So I really wanted to come on and talk about this because this is something that's really resonating with me right now. I have been in a fear cycle for probably what feels like to the last 2 years. And I wanted to share with you guys a few different tips and tricks on how to pull ourselves out of fear and how to support ourselves during this time. So we're going to talk all about why we're experiencing fear, why the cycle keeps perpetuating and recreating, tips on how to heal this fear, and just understanding kind of where the fear comes from and how we can move through this and move past it. So thank you so much for joining here on the podcast. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or Buzzsprout, and of course if you're here watching the video on YouTube, it is also on YouTube as well. So be sure to like the video, subscribe on YouTube, or head over there if you're not already subscribed, you guys. Follow me over on social media. I have it linked down below in the video description and down below on the podcast. The Charway is where you find all of the updated current trending topics of Char's life. It is really just the complete expression of who I am. So be sure to join me on all those places, you guys, and let's dive in and discover you. So I generally don't like talk about, politics, the world, the news, the media, all of these things that are happening. Like, I don't want to feed into it, but it's also a big part of our reality right now. We are experiencing a time where we are so out of sorts. We are so overwhelmed. We are so confused. And honestly, a lot of us are traumatized and have severe anxiety, emotion, depression, mental health, whatever you're going through. There is so much happening. And I don't really want to make this a topic about, the what, quote unquote, as I quote my fingers. But I think that as we close out 2021, this will be the last podcast of the year before we dive into the new year. I really want to just give you guys a message of choosing love over fear and learning how to do that and learning how to harness that energy, because I feel like we are all so overwhelmed. We're so exhausted. We're so burnt out. And we're fearful. We're fearful on every side of what's going on right now. I honestly just don't feel that there's any end to this. I don't feel that there's any reprieve from what's happening. And no matter what side you're on, or, if you're picking a side or you're choosing to do the thing or not do the thing, or wherever you are, it doesn't matter. It's impacting all of us, whether you've chosen to or not, whether you are, in a good headspace or not. I feel like we're all just collectively, there's this weight and this heaviness around us that we're suffering and we're struggling. We're told to not see humans. We're told to be fearful of each other. We're told to be scared of something we can't see. Just these insane things that we have no power over. And we're scared. We're scared. We've been scared since the moment it came out, and we're scared still 2 years later. And maybe you're not. And if it's not resonating with you, that's totally cool. And if you're in a good headspace, freaking ride that wave, girl, because holy moly, it has been a lot. So I am speaking from my experience, and I'm going to share from my experience just because I feel very, very traumatized from the last 2 years. I feel scared to talk to people. I feel scared to see humans. I feel that it's safer to just hide and stay in my house, which I think a lot of people feel. It's like the world is opening up and there's some normalcy happening, but then there's new media and new news about what's next. So anyway, we won't talk about that too much, but I really want to talk to you guys in the grain of choosing love over fear and learning how to root into that energy, which has been something that I've been working on for the past few months because I am a very anxious person. I've struggled with mental health my entire life. My anxiety has never been worse than it has been in the last 6 months. So I very much feel that this is a time where we really need to turn in, and we really need to root into ourselves and to ground our energy. And I did talk about this in a podcast a few episodes back about rooting into grounding and not fear. So it's a little bit of a similar topic, but I really wanted to kind of just expand further on this and really allow you to have some attainable tools to move into the new year, to close out 2021, to let go of these things that are causing us so much right now. So I guess starting out the podcast, why are we experiencing fear? Well, we kind of just covered that. It can be for a number of different reasons. And fear is something that's really interesting because it's not like someone's like, oh, like there's this spider on the floor, you should be scared of it. It's more about like the psychological trigger that happens in your brain. So fear isn't really about someone saying you should fear this. It's about the continual, perpetual fear that continues as you hear more and more about it. So you hear spiders are scary, or spiders can bite you and you can die, and you know, this spider's poisonous and you have to go to a hospital if it bites you. So like you hear these things, which some of it is factual, yes. But not all spiders can kill you. Most spiders can't kill you. There's very few that can. So it's that idea that gets planted. It's like a seed that gets planted in your brain, and you're like, okay, I should be scared of spiders. And then people see a spider and they're like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, it's gonna kill you, oh my God, panic, freak out. So you lose your mind over a spider on the ground, when really it's like one of the hundreds of thousands of spiders that won't actually do anything to you. So it's this like routine of like hearing these things, and then your brain associates a fear factor around that. And it's all psychological. Fear is really a conditioning of reoccurring events that causes you to be in a fear loop, to be scared of something. Fear is irrational. Fear is not logical at all. So I think that we hold this weight into fearing something that we have absolutely no control over, and we live in this state of like, I'm so petrified and afraid, but you've created that fear. You've allowed that fear to seep in. You've allowed it to enter your psyche. You've allowed the unlogical part of your brain, the fight or flight area of your brain, to take over and to allow that fear to continue. Because at the end of the day, 99.9% of spiders aren't going to kill you. Maybe that's not the exact fact, but you know what I'm saying is most spiders aren't going to kill you. So why are we afraid of every spider, right? And there's so much more that's deeper than this. And you know, arachnophobia, let's just use that as an example. It's a legit thing. Someone's reality is so severe because of this, and that's okay. It's okay to be fearful. It's okay. That's a human response to fight against danger. Your body is trying to cope with something on an energetic, psychological level that you don't understand in the physical body. It's an unknowing to you, but it's actually like protecting you. So fear is important, and we need fear. However, we also need to learn to separate what is fearful and serving and what is fearful and not serving. So like when you're running from danger, a bear is chasing you in the woods, yeah, you need to run as freaking fast as you can, because your body is in fear. It's in flight of like, get me out of here. But the problem is that we're doing that right now, sitting in our houses, listening to the noise. And that's the problem, is that we are inducing fear and allowing fear to enter us. And then we're sitting and stewing in it and going, oh my God, I should be scared. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be scared. I'm not saying that there's not scarcity around this. There's not concern. There's not worry. Absolutely. Your experience is completely yours. However, do we want to live in fear every day, all day? Because you see it. You can see it in people. You get too close to somebody in the grocery store and they panic. You hang out with a friend who is very one-sided and you can see the fear spewing out of them, and you're like, I honestly sat with a friend last week and she was living fear, living it. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, I've been living in fear too, but it's not spewing. Well, maybe it has been at certain points, but like, there's a point where you have to learn that we can only control so much. We only have the power over so much, and the rest, we just can't. We can't have any control or any power over, and we have to stop not living our lives because we're so petrified of the what if, of the what could, of the what might. So that's kind of, I guess, why we're experiencing fear and where it's coming from. So I guess that kind of covers like why we're experiencing fear, where it's coming from. It can be from like kind of expanding into where it comes from. It can be so many different things. It can be the news, it can be a person that you hang out with, it can be social media, it can be articles you read, it can be people around you. Like there's just so much that can be coming in that can be causing this fear. Information is fearful. The unknown is fearful, right? And that is just human conditioning that we are designed to have our nervous system trigger so it can support us and keep us healthy and keep us safe. The problem is that we are so overconsumed with content, with media, with social media, that it's too much, and our body doesn't know how to stop soaking in versus just being. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and how we stop that cycle. How do we cut this off? Because you get caught in a loop. It's a loop. And every time you open your phone, open social media, you see something that gives you an emotion, and it's fear-inducing or it's joy-inducing or whatever the thing is you're seeing. But I think a lot of what we're seeing right now is there's so much scarcity, there's so much fear, and there's so much negativity that impacts your mind, your brain, your health. So the minute you open that thing is the moment your emotion and your energy changes. If you were to, get up in the morning, look at your phone first thing, or turn on the news right away, what are you filling your soul with? What are you filling your energy field with? What are you filling your heart with? Information, fear mongering, probably. Information that is not impacting your day in and day out life. All of these different things. And this is, pandemic or not, this is what the media is designed to do. It is designed to allow you to be triggered, to get a response, and to have you feel an emotion. And the problem is we're so overstimulated by these things, our phones, that the trigger needs to be bigger and bigger as time moves forward, because we are literally so used to being triggered every moment of every day, the moment we look at our phone, that the media has to work harder to get you to trigger harder because they want a response. And that's what media is, that's what news is that it wants you to feel something. And it has to work 10 times harder nowadays than it ever did before because we're so overstimulated. So it's a big part of it is the phones and the triggers that we see day in and day out on the social media, let alone the media. I think that more than ever right now is a time to separate from the world, to disconnect. And I'm not saying stop seeing people or humans or interacting with your family. Things like that are super important right now, but I think that it's a time where we really need to just disassociate from the things that are triggering, the things that are causing so much anxiety, so much stress, so much fear. We are over-consuming, and we are living in this space that everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got something to say, everyone's a doctor, everyone's a scientist, everyone is a voice of reason, and these are beautiful things, and I think people are more empowered than ever right now. We're in a time of awakened, empowering people who are speaking their truth. And it's incredible to see, because we need people that are pioneers, that are paving the path forward to allow us to feel empowered in ourselves. And that's really what the lesson is here. The pandemic has taught us that we need to be with ourselves. We need to be present. We need to stand in our truth, stand in our power. That's where why this whole thing has happened, is to really root people in. But in regards to stopping the cycle, to reducing the fear, is to stop consuming this stuff. So I know many people who get up in the morning and turn the news on right away. I personally stopped watching the news probably 10 years ago. I allowed myself to shut that shit out because honestly, it's triggering. I felt shitty after. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel good about the world, because it's designed to show you all of the horrible things that are happening instead of spreading light and positivity and good things that happen in the world, the good things that are happening, the positive things that are coming out of this time, is showing you all of the scary things because it wants you to respond. It wants you to be in a fear loop. And that's not how we're meant to live. We're not meant to live in this existence. We're not meant to be triggered by our phone. We're not meant to look at our phone, our resource that this thing is, and look at it and go, oh my God, I feel so spun out of control by what so-and-so was saying, or how so-and-so was acting, or how so-and-so was this and how so-and-so was that. So we are constantly, over and over again, just wound up by the things that we're putting our energy into, our mind into. And they're not places that we want to exist all day, every day. And I'm guilty of this too. I have an addiction to my phone too. So I think that really the key here is, as we move through this, the holiday season, is to kind of look at maybe disconnecting from these things even stronger, setting time limits around social media, time limits around the news. I'm not saying don't be informed, because it's important to know what's happening in the world, but find a resource that is like a statistical resource, like the CDC website, like the WHO website, where there's factual information, not things that say may or should or could or might, things that are not clear and concise, because that is what's causing this fear of the unknown, of like, oh my God, what is actually happening? What do we believe? What do we even understand? Because we don't know anything. We're so confused. I'm confused. Everyone's confused. Like, what's happening? Right? So we don't want to live in that state. So I think that it's really, really important to start to look at like how you can start to limit the interaction of media, the news, your phone. Also letting go of people that are triggering, people that are not serving your mental health, people that are harming you because of the words they say and the opinions they have and the things that they believe. We're in a space where we're losing people left, right, front, and center. And I've lost most of my closest people this year. Most of my closest friends have just fallen away because we view the world so differently and we see what's happening so differently. And that's okay. We all have a role to play. We all have a purpose to be here. But I think that there's something really beautiful about this shift, and really amazing about it, is that we are seeing our true selves. We are aligning truly with who we are. We're truly feeling what we feel and not hiding it, not running away from it. And maybe you're still starting to figure that out. Maybe you're starting to step into that power of like, wow, like this is how I really feel, and I'm done with people that feel differently. And that's okay. It is your path, your life, you're paving that, right? So the first step in to heal this fear cycle is to disconnect, to separate yourselves and have time limits around these things, to not be stuck and glued to them and have them be a part of you in a limb, right? So disconnection's huge. This will allow a space for you to bring in presence, to have presence in your life, because how often do you just sit with yourself and like feel your body and like feel your emotions and connect within? I think that is so lacking in society, and this is pre-pandemic. We're so disassociated from our energetic selves, our emotions, our feelings, And this is a time where it's really beautiful to just sit with self and to, have a bath and not have distractions, to go for a walk and just be in nature, to sit and read a book and be present in that book, or present with your children or your spouse. Like, there's something really beautiful about taking time to actually be in the moment instead of being triggered and traumatized over and over again by all of the stuff that we're hearing and seeing in the world. This also might look a lot like doing some type of therapy or energetic healing or physical body work like acupuncture, massage, like allowing a space and an outlet to be a resource so that you can heal your body or your mind. You can be however that connects for you, mind and body, spirit connection. But going for massage is a great way to release emotion and energy stuck in the body, to release tension that's been building from all of the things we're seeing. Talking to a therapist and just having a space and an outlet that is so unbiased, that just allows you to just pour your heart and soul into it and get emotional, cry, have someone who just wants to hold space for you. So therapy is another beautiful thing, and I highly recommend therapy in general life, let alone when we're going through the times that we're going through. So I really, really feel that there's power in your voice and power in what you feel, and just allowing yourself that space, because none of us have it figured out. We're all just experiencing this craziness together and trying to navigate the best way we can possible, and we don't even know what that is. So it's extremely tough. And other great things are to also, if you're into spiritual work, you're into meditation or yoga, moving your body, working out, that kind of stuff, energy movement within the body. It's really powerful right now. It's really powerful work. Seeing a Reiki healer or doing your own healing, working with anything that really resonates with you, to allow your body to just be present right now in the moment and to just be with yourself. Setting those boundaries around not having to just be attached or responding or connected to other people or to other things. Just finding that space for you, whatever that is, whatever your thing is that you love to do. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's writing, maybe it's painting, maybe it's sports, whatever it is, you just find that thing. This is a time to listen to what intuitively is calling to you, what you want to do. What do you want to do with your life and your time? How do you want to spend your days? Do you want to live in fear and scarcity, or do you want to live in joy and happiness? So I think that whatever your poison is, or your method is, or whatever you want to call it, I think it's really about just finding yourself in this, rooting in and turning in to look inwards at yourself, which isn't always easy work. It can be very hard shadow work if you've not spent a lot of time with yourself. But I truly feel that this is a time to look at our lives, to look at the way we're living them, to look at the people around us, to look at what's happening in the world, and choosing every day love instead of fear, choosing the loved ones you have, practicing appreciation and gratitude for the life that you have, or what you have right now, because at any moment your life can be taken. Any moment something could happen, and life is way more fragile than we really truly believe it is. And if we live our life scared of what's next, we'll never enjoy what's next. So I really empower you guys to choose love. Don't choose fear, because fear is just a cycle and a loop that is slowly killing our spark, our light, our love, and our hope for what's next. Because if we don't live and enjoy and breathe and feel every moment we have right now, we're just fearing what's next. And I can feel myself getting emotional just hearing myself say this out loud to you guys, because we're so scared of our lives. We're so scared of everything that's happening. And that's okay. It's okay to be scared. But it's not the way that we should be living. It's not the way that you should be living your life. We should be living our life with joy and love and excitement for what we have and what is to come. Because what's to come is beautiful, and none of this is in our power. None of this is in our control. And all we can do is choose to be grateful, choose to be in love with our lives, with ourselves, with our journey right now, because that is where the beauty is. That is what life is, living and breathing this existence, because we don't know how long we have it for. So remember to choose love, not fear, and to allow yourself a space to tune in, to work through the things we talked about today, to find the things that allow you to feel less fearful, allow you to have a little hope in what's to come. So I'm going to leave the podcast here for today. Thank you so much for holding space with me, for being here with me, for allowing me to get emotional with you. And I hope that this shifts you in some way to choose love and not fear. So thanks so much for listening to Discover You podcast, episode 8. I will see you guys in next week's podcast episode. Be sure to follow along on social media, over on YouTube, subscribe, Instagram, connect with me, and leave a review on the podcast on wherever you're listening, on Apple or Spotify. I would greatly appreciate any of your love to allow others to reach this podcast. Thanks so much, you guys. Bye.